Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Sarah Fee, and I'm a Senior Curator of Global Fashion and Textiles here at the Royal Ontario Museum. I'm delighted you could join us today for today's Curator Conversation, a digital program that explores themes and subjects from ROM collections alongside industry professionals. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the ROM sits on what has been the ancestral lands of the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Anishinaabe Nation, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, since time immemorial to today. I'm delighted you can join us for today's program in support of the exhibition Swapna Tamhani, Mobile Palace. I would like to take this opportunity to thank lead exhibition patron Dan Mishra and the generous support of the ROM's Royal Exhibition Circle. We also acknowledge the support of the Canada Council for the Arts. Select works in the exhibition you will see were created through the support of ROM's iArts Textiles of India Fund. I want to remind everyone in the audience that these are the final few days to see the exhibit Mobile Palace, which closes after Monday, August 1st. So you still have the opportunity through Monday to come experience this amazing exhibition and see in person, in the flesh, the amazingly beautiful textiles that we will be discussing today. It's meant as an immersive experience, and unless you have that experience, you may not be able to appreciate every message and detail in it. So really hope everyone can come out and see it. For today's conversation, India's Ajrakh Blockprinting for the past, present, and future, I am joined by guests who played an integral role in the creation of this exhibition, who created the pattern and color with natural dyes you will experience in the exhibition. And I will share my screen now to give you some glimpses into this. So, my messy screen here. Now, to me, one of the most exciting aspects of Tamhani's Mobile Palace exhibition, which you see here, was the nature of her close collaboration with textile artists based in Kachchh, India. Mobile Palace features textile-based installation reflecting Tamhani's larger artistic practice, exploring what it means to make a mark. The works harness different moments in India's history to push back on colonial ideas about the hierarchical separation of art and craft, of architecture and textile, permanence and impermanence, rigidity and fluidity. Now, resistance is also a key theme in it, both metaphorically and actually, and we'll talk today about the actual physical resists that come into play in creating pattern on cotton textiles. Now, in the exhibition, there are two main textile artworks, which you see here to the upper left, a small tent structure called Tent, a space for the ceremony of closed readings, which creates an intimate space for the experience of pattern. It advocates for Indian makers and their central role in the economy. It was inspired partially by Mughal tents, but we'll return to that later. The main title work, Mobile Palace, which you see to the right, is a large deconstructed tent made of around 20 pieces of 7-meter lengths of machine-made cotton fabric, each with its own unique color and pattern combination, as you can see here. Now, visitors are invited to walk under it, look up, and be immersed in the pattern and color, which catches their eye through interruptions in the design, beading, and applique. And I challenge you to walk through here and spot on each piece how the design has been interrupted, again, in support of the concept of this creation. Now, two major Indian artists participated in the conception and execution of these textile works in the creating the color and pattern with the dyes. They are block carver Mukash Prajapati, who carved the wooden printing blocks, and joining us today, Salemamad Khatri. That exhibition includes their tools and to underscore the contribution of them and making these pieces. Now, their voices and experiences are also included in the exhibition in the video, the films, which you can see here at the very back of the room, where they talk about what it was like collaborating in this artistic work. So I urge everyone who visits to take the time to watch these videos. And so today offers us yet another chance to offer a stage and a voice to the artists in India who contributed to this project. And so it's my great pleasure to welcome Abdulaziz Khatri and Salemamad Khatri, who are joining us directly from Kachchh, Gujarat. Welcome, Abdulaziz and Salemamad.
Thank you so much, Adam.
Now, in terms of voices, I must apologize. I don't speak Hindi, Gujarati, or Kachchh. So we're going to have a three-way conversation, and we will make this work.
Yeah.
So it is my great pleasure to introduce our two guests, and I want to thank them for making the time for us today, and actually for staying up late at night to join us, because I believe it is 9:00 p.m. there tonight, and they both probably had a long day's work already. A special thanks too to the Consulate General of India, Toronto, for their support of this program and allowing us to have this conversation today. So to begin, I would like to introduce our two speakers. First with us is Salemamad Khatri, who is an artist based in Ajrakh in the region of Kachchh, located in Gujarat, India. He is a noted block printer and dyer of textiles using historical methods and natural dyes. And he works with the nonprofit organization Khamir, which is based in Bhuj, Kachchh. Khamir promotes the heritage arts of Kachchh, and I believe we will share some information on Khamir in our chat box for anyone who's interested. Now, Salemamad is also a textile designer, holding a certificate from Kalaraksha Vidyalaya, an education center in Gujarat that helps artisans with design and marketing for the contemporary world. Also with us is Abdulaziz Khatri, who joined the Khamir organization in 2016. And has held several roles within it, including management of their retail space and the textile department of Khamir. He serves as an intermediary between artisans, artists, and designers. And again, more information about Khamir can be found in the chat. And today, he's going to be facilitating our conversation, but also sharing his experiences of working with Khamir in this intermediary role between artists, designers, and artisans. So welcome again, Salemamad and Abdulaziz. We're going to begin shortly. I want to remind our audience that at any time you can put in questions into the Q&A function bubble that you'll find on your screen. And we're reserving the last 10 minutes or so for your questions. So feel free to enter them just at any point. Here again, just to show how the making of Mobile Palace is really featured in the exhibition with the actual tools that were used by Salemamad to create the pattern. But I want to start with some background because as I understand, for Salemamad, this was in many ways a departure from his usual practice. So I would like you to tell us, Salemamad, about your career as a block printer and dyer. And I understand that many men of the Khatri family have been hereditary cloth printers for centuries. So can you please share with the audience how many years you have been block printing, how old you were when you began, and how you learned this?
Boleh mana Ajrakh Khatri માં કાજુ કાય નહીં.
Now Untitled Chapter.
ના
हिंदी। मेरा नाम मेरा नाम खत्री सालेमामद दाऊद है। मैं अजरकपुर का रहने वाला हूँ और मैं 7th क्लास तक पढ़ा हुआ हूँ और मैंने ये हमारा अजरक ब्लॉक प्रिंटिंग का काम जो है वो मेरे पिताजी और भाई से सीखा है। तो मैं लास्ट 26 साल से 26 ईयर से ये अजरक ब्लॉक प्रिंटिंग का काम करता रहा और 2008 के अंदर कला रक्षा विद्यालय के अंदर आर्टिसन डिजाइनर की मैंने कोर्स किया है, टेक्सटाइल डिजाइनर।
So Sayam was saying he started his printing. It's 26 years now. He's experienced of 26 years of block printing, and he learned the block printing from his father and his brother. And he has working with he has also completed his graduate design course from the Kala Raksha Vidyalaya, which helps to morely work with the artisans or what kind of market related the orientation or the designing, so to more connect with the work. So he's also learned the printing from his father. And now he's 26 years, he's practicing the same craft. So he was started when he was 15 years.
When he was 15 years old.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's been doing this for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Can he tell us, what kind of textiles he was making before he began the collaboration with Swapna Tamhane?
स्वप्न में कोलैबोरेशन भी पहले कौन टाइप जो कंपनी था मतलब कोई प्रोडक्ट में बनाएंगे।
हाँ, उससे पहले हम लोग जो है मार्केट के हिसाब से मार्केट में जो भी फैब्रिक चल रहा है, जो भी डिजाइन चल रहा है, नेचुरल डाई के हिसाब से जो भी डाई चल रहा है उसमें अजरक के मोटिव भी चलते थे मार्केट के हिसाब से, और कभी कंटेम्प्रेरी मोटिव, नेचुरल मोटिव, उस हिसाब से सब काम चलता था। तो जो मार्केट लेवल पकड़ता है उस हिसाब से काम करते थे।
So he was working with market-oriented production. That's what the market demands with Ajrakh block printings is the traditional motifs with also in natural dyes and the contemporary designs like just like stripe or some kind of modified motif with Ajrakh and another motif is combined with create a new blocks. So they are working good on the market base. What depends on its fabric, its saris. And also work on the color combinations or depend on the market. So local market like he was applying in Gujarat or out of Gujarat and the local places.
So what we are looking at right now on our screen is an example of Ajrakh, block printed cottons of Kachchh that are the kind, that I think were historically made in Kachchh and probably by his father and others in Ajrakpur. So can he tell us a little bit more about these historical designs? Is this a typical historical design that we're looking at? Is it more contemporary? And what is distinctive about Ajrakh?
He needs to be designed.
traditional
Traditional.
traditional design
नालों के ऊपर उतने इतिहास.
लड्डू चक्कर नालू है, लड्डू चक्कर नालू
And
ये सीरियस में ज़रा यूज होती है।
this is a traditional motif, this traditional design, which was used for in the Sirak. Sirak is also one kind of blanket where so many blocks were using on the one blanket, and that blanket was given to the daughter in dowry. That was a like a bed cover is 100 by 100 inch, 100 by 100 inch piece cloth piece. That blanket this block designs were used in the Sirak. It's a traditional motif.
I see. So used by local communities. So this would have been a historic traditional design. And I just wanted to point out to people in the audience too, that adding color to cotton is not done directly. You can't just directly apply the color. Instead, you have to use these magical substances called mordants to get your reds and your blacks. And you cannot directly apply the blue. You have to use resists that block off it. And then you have to each time immerse it in these dye baths that you see to the lower right. So what may look like a simple design there is incredibly complicated in terms of engineering the design and the dyeing so that you build up this color and pattern. So I just want everyone to appreciate how complicated it is to create this color and pattern. Even with the, when we're looking at these historic pieces, and it gets more complicated as our story goes on, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, I will also add, I add one point, so that Ajrakh, you ask what is, that Ajrakh is the word, it means as in the Kachchh language, it's called Aj means today, and Rakh means keep. So at that time, it's a long process of printing. So it's 15 to 60 process of the printing. So Ajrakh means the first process done is keep it today, and the second process on the second day. So third is third day, like that is Ajrakh means keep it today.
Thank you for that. And I understand that it could take up to 22 steps to complete the most complex of these Ajrakh pieces. So again, very, very difficult, and taking a lot of conceptual and technical skills to achieve. So now we're going to move on to what it was like then. Oops, so here again, I just wanted to show this to our audience again so they can appreciate the complexity and all the steps that are involved in actually getting the color to adhere to cotton. But this is what the rest of our program is going to be about. It's going to be about Salemamad's contribution to creating mobile palace. And if we have them side by side, we can see how different the designs are. So I'd like to go back to the beginning of the journey then for Salemamad, when he began the collaboration with Swapna Tamhani. So if he could please tell us how he began the collaboration with her, and what did he think of the project, and why did he accept to participate? So there's kind of three parts there.
So Swapna will come accept kaya khaas wala banla kare and कई collaboration की शुरुआत थी.
कोलैबोरेशन की शुरुआत तो हमारी 2017 से हुई थी. तो 2017 के अंदर खमीर की जो हेड है गट्टी साफ करके, तो उससे हमारी बातचीत हुई थी. तो उन्होंने बोला था सपना बेन करके हैं, उनको कुछ एक्सक्लूसिव पीस या आर्टिस्ट है, उनको कुछ काम करवाना है. तो मैंने उनको बोला था कि मैं करने के लिए रेडी हूँ, कुछ नया होगा तो करेंगे और सीखेंगे, सीखने को भी मिलेगा. तो उसी हिसाब से हमने उनका जो कलेक्शन का कलर कॉम्बिनेशन था, डिज़ाइन था, वो हमने देख के फिर सैंपल किया. तो सैंपल के हिसाब से पास हो गया था. और उसी टाइम हमने मैम यहाँ आए थे इंडिया में, तो उनके साथ में ही मिलके फिर हमने वो पूरा कलेक्शन रेडी किया उनके कलर स्केल के हिसाब से.
So when first started with the contact, when Swapna went contact with the Khamir and Bhatit Bhai also contacted Salemamad to do something new that Swapna was looking for, like artistic or something unique work the printer can do. So he suggested to Salemamad, and Salemamad accept the work because he was he's keen to learn new things, and if he says that if anything new than the regular works what he is doing, so it's happy to do that. And there's some challenges, but it's learning, so it's more he is willing to do that. So then he accept the work, and we started some sampling with color combination. It was for when we started with, it's for a tent, like the mobile tents which we see in the picture. In the first collaboration, we start with that block and color combination for the tent.
So the collaboration began in 2018, I understand, with the making of the tent. That's correct?
Yeah.
And I remember when we were discussing it earlier that Salemamad said he thought the challenges were exciting. And so that's partly too why he wanted to do this, was to have a new challenge. I we'll hear more about what the challenges were and how he rose to the occasion and grew with them. So I understand that for the creation of Mobile Palace, so here again, here's what Salemamad was referring to, that he began the collaboration in 2018 with the tent, a space for the ceremony of close readings, where the patterns were already being abstracted, and that was already creating the first challenge. Then we come into the creation of Mobile Palace, which you see to the left, which is totally deconstructed. So I understand that the patterns on the textiles of Mobile Palace were mainly inspired by the design of the Ahmedabad Textile Mill Owners Association building in Gujarat. And that to start the project, the team visited the building together. So I would like to ask each of you, what most impressed you about the design of the Mill Owners Association building? Had you ever seen it before, and what were your opinions on the design?
डिजाइन आखी अलग है। जो मिल ओनर्स बिल्डिंग जो थी उसको हमने देखा, उसका डिजाइन भी कुछ अलग था, और उसका जो बनावट जो है उसकी सिर्फ कंक्रीट और सीमेंट से बनाई हुई है। उसके अंदर कई ऐसे डिजाइन्स भी दिए हुए हैं, और मिल ओनर्स के बैक साइड पे नदी की है, तो वहाँ की जो क्लाइमेट हवा जो है वो सीधा बाहर भी आती है, उसके हिसाब से भी डिजाइन किया गया है। और हमने बिल्डिंग को देखा, एकदम अलग ही है बिल्कुल।
We have not visited before the building before, so we went first time, and we were amazed that this construction was built in 1954, and at that time it's a huge construct. Architects is amazing that the construction is amazing. At that time it was built with, at that time there was not such a technology to construction, so we were amazed that this kind of architect and the construction done, and the detailing with what the architect has made it in the building. So that's amazed us. The Salim was saying that the construction which we have seen, we have never seen that kind of architect or any building before in here or anywhere else. So behind the buildings there was a Sabarmati river also. So construction was like that. If you see in the front images, and the backside also open with like with some pillars, but it's the air is passed through from the river to the front side. So this was amazing. We have never visited before, and we have also correlated the blocks which we are printing on. So we have made sampling. So when we see the buildings, it's more related with the blocks and designs when we see it.
Thank you very much. I should also let the audience know that this building, the Mill Owners Association building, what it's famous for is that it was designed by the Swiss architect Le Corbusier, and it was one of the first modern buildings that was built in post-independent India, together with a string of others in other places in the country. But this is why it's so strikingly different from the other kinds of buildings that you might see in Ahmedabad. And this was part of the whole interrogation of the divide between, you know, art and craft, architecture and textile that that Tamhani was interrogating. So I know you visited the exterior of the building, and then you also visited the interior of the building. And I don't know if you had other impressions of the interior of the building or how it inspired your thinking.
अंदर बैक साइड जो था उसका एक सीढ़ी जो होता है, सीढ़ी का एक डिजाइन भी अलग था, और उसके अंदर भी टेक्सचर निकल रहे हैं। वो कमेटी हॉल जो बना हुआ है, वो भी कुछ अलग से बना हुआ है। और फ्रंट साइड पे जो उसके बॉक्स बने हुए हैं वो भी कुछ अलग सा, पूरा अंदर बाहर सबका डिजाइन से अलग था, और उसके अंदर का जो कैपेसिटी था वो एकदम यूजफुल था।
We have seen the ladders, and there was no support, like it was a long gap between from first floor to the downside. There was that kind of architecture they developed and made, and so there was no the support of, though it was so strong, and we were here also feel the texture of the building. So it was a row, there was no any color or anything. So it was a raw feel. So we were correlated with the blocks and the textures, what the Sapna, and also the showing us the where the shadow is coming, and where they have the designs with blocks to combinations. So you are correlated with the texture of the spaces of the building.
Amazing. So that was your project then, was to translate not only the design, but the atmosphere and the texture then onto the textiles. So we're going to move on to that part of the story then how the translation from, you know, the experience and then the collaboration to actually then creating the color and pattern on the textiles. So I know you worked a family team of block carvers led by Mukash Prajapati did carve the blocks, working with Swapna and her sketches. But then it was your job and your challenge and your task, Salemamad, to then print using these blocks. And so I would like to understand how it was different for you to work with these very different kinds of blocks. I'll go ahead and come back. So here are the blocks that you were working with, but here are the blocks that you were accustomed to working with. So I'm wondering what it was like for you then to work with these other types of blocks for this project. What were the challenges?
Regular जो अजरक जब ब्लॉक है, इनके कहीं जो ब्लॉक वहाँ रेगुलर कम रहता है, अलग करो वो ना तकलीफ कम में जो प्रिंटिंग में
ये जो बिल्डिंग से इंस्पायर हुए डिजाइन जो हमने प्रिंट के अंदर कलेक्शन में यूज तो किए, वो ब्लॉक बिल्कुल अलग ही थे। जैसे हम लोग अजरक का ब्लॉक जो यूज करते हैं तो बारीक होता है, डिटेलिंग होता है और सिमेट्रिकल होता है और रिपीटेशन ज़्यादा होता है। तो हमने ये जो कलेक्शन के अंदर ब्लॉक यूज करने थे वो बिल्कुल अलग ही थे, उनका कोई सिमेट्रिकल नहीं था या स्क्वायर भी नहीं था। तो प्रिंट के अंदर जो है वो हमारे हाथ से ही उसको बिठाना था, और ब्लॉक के अंदर डिजाइन ऐसे थे जो एकदम मोटा प्रिंट होता है, रेजिस्ट जो प्रिंट होता है वो एकदम मोटा होता था, और यही ब्लॉक को लेके हमें डिजाइन भी करना था, तो बहुत ही हार्ड था काम।
So he is saying that the regular blocks is more square and symmetric. So in they work with a joint printing, like one block's complete, then again join and join. So it's a regular printing, and it's not take so much time. And this block was a different than the regular blocks what they are practicing with printing. So it was a few small blocks, and there was not no repetition in block. Like it's not easy to join the second block with while printing. So it's difficult to print, and also the art piece was not like fabric wise. It's also layout with to measure the space, the marking the space also, and that block size also to fit on that scale what we have a mark. So that was a difficult to manage with these blocks.
Yeah, I think we can see it here where he has to choose where to place the block. It's not dictated by the next block before it with markers. He has a lot of agency where he places the blocks. So did he need to practice? Did he need to do several attempts, or was he able to do it the first time?
No, first.
फर्स्ट टाइम में
First-
फिर
first
मैं
time.
अलग अलग
Yeah.
ट्राई बैस
No, no. ना आई से ये जो हमने पूरा प्रिंटिंग का काम जो किया है वो फर्स्ट टाइम ही किया है। और ये जो लेआउट्स जो थे वो समझ लो 3x5 के पेपर के अंदर ड्रॉ किए हुए थे। तो उसी लेआउट को लेके हमें पूरा 7 मीटर्स का जो पीस है उसके अंदर प्रोपोर्शन स्केल के हिसाब से बिठाना था। तो वो हमने भी फर्स्ट ट्राई में ही बिठाया।
So it was first attempt when he tried. So they draw the scale according to the fabric, and they mark on that blue lines which you are saying is mark of the knee. So then they have to mark in the whole 7 meter fabric, and then he started. Because it's first attempt, and there was not so much errors, like if you say the error or some misprint or that not happen.
Wonderful. I think this image really helps us to understand his agency and role and contribution. I'm going to move on to another topic. I mean, block printing is just the first step. And, you have to print the mordants, you have to print the resists, there are all kinds of things. But then you have to dye. So that's a whole other sort of half of the equation. So I'd like to understand a bit about if there were any challenges in dyeing the cloth, and in this particular creation, or was he able to use the techniques that he was accustomed to using? So were there any challenges in the dyeing of Mobile Palace?
हाँ, डाइंग में भी हमने कुछ इसमें अलग किया है जो हमारे लिए चैलेंज था। तो रेगुलरली जो हमारा प्रिंट होता है तो रेजिस्ट प्रिंट होता है, और 3 कलर प्रिंट होने के बाद आफ्टर डाई होता है, तो डाई के बाद रेडी हो जाता है। तो इसमें हमने कलेक्शन जो रेडी किया है वो कलर स्केल जो था, जैसे कि मैम ने बोला था कि रेड के अंदर रेड विथ ब्लू के अंदर ब्लू, तो वो कॉम्बिनेशन भी मुझे कुछ नया चाहिए। तो हमने वो ट्राई किया और उसके लिए हमने बहुत मेहनत भी की, और वो थोड़ा हार्ड था। जैसे एक बार पीस जो है कोई प्रिंट हो जाता है, डाई हो जाता है, उसके बाद आफ्टर रिपीट डाई करना है, और रेड के अंदर रेड, ब्लू के अंदर ब्लू, वो हमने कलेक्शन बनाया।
So it was the few pieces was difficult to dye because Sapna need we have make some color combinations. So she was looking for the red on red, like in the print also red. In the regular Ajrakh prints, there was if any base color is indigo or is any other color, so that color is not in the resist, while in the printing, like block in the resist. So in this case, we've used the red color in the print also in the block, and base also the black, red, sorry. So that was a different than the regular one. So this is also traditional technique at the long time ago they were using. It's called traditional name called Meena. So once the fabric is ready, like the resist removes and the dyes, the where they have covered the red and white. So then they have to prepare the fabric and they have to re-dye it. So this is the double process that is difficult to do in the comparison to the regular dyeing and this collection dyeing.
So did it require some experimentation?
So
No, direct.
No, they have not the experimentation. They have know about that this process is the traditional one, the Meena process. So they have not to do the experiments. So they know the process, but the regulars they have not practiced with this kind of collection.
I see.
Color combination.
It was a known historic process that they had to bring back in order to get these various shades of red. Well, the results are absolutely stunning, and I think this is one of the favorite pieces for many of the people that I've seen visiting the exhibition. I just have 2 more questions, and then we're going to turn it over to any questions from the audience. So if you have not yet put your questions into the Q&A function, please do so. I want to talk about this piece in particular, Ashadia 1. I've been with many different kinds of visitors in the exhibition, and this is a favorite piece for many people. So it looks very different from the others that we've seen so far. So I'm hoping you can tell us what it is, and then I'll ask what you think of it. So can you tell us what this is?
ये कपड़ों विजिट करना है बड़े खाने की मतलब इंटरेस्टिंग लगा पास लगा ये वस्तु पर हुआ है
एक्चुअली ये जो फैब्रिक लगा हुआ है आचाड़िया, तो हम लोग उससे आचाड़िया ही बोलते हैं। तो जो हमारा प्रिंटिंग का टेबल रहता है उसके ऊपर ही मैट की तरफ फैलाते हैं, तो उसके अंदर जो भी हम प्रिंट करते हैं तो प्रिंट किया हुआ जो कलर होगा, रेजिस्ट होगा, जो भी होगा, वो 20% आचाड़िया के ऊपर आता है। तो आचाड़िया मैट जो है वो रेजिस्ट पकड़ते पकड़ते उसके अंदर कुछ अलग ही डिजाइन का टेक्सचर आ जाता है। तो जहाँ पे मॉडर्न जो प्रिंट होता है वो आचाड़िया वॉश होने के बाद नहीं निकलता है, और रेजिस्ट जो प्रिंट होता है वो निकल जाता है, आफ्टर वॉश के बाद क्लीन हो जाता है। तो जब ये मैम ने हमें आइडिया दिया कि ये मुझे चाहिए, तो हम सोच रहे थे कि इसका क्या करेंगे, ये आचाड़िया है। तो उन्होंने बताया कि आप जैसे भी पैनल्स प्रिंट करोगे तो आफ्टर आपको डाइंग करना है। तो आचाड़िया को डाइंग करके फिर हमने देखा तो उसमें कुछ अलग ही डिजाइन निकला है। तो जो भी है टेक्सचर सब डिजाइन का मिक्सिंग हो रहा है।
So this is this fabric they use for the on the table as a maid. So when they're printing the fabric or any other product, so the 80% of color or resist it's absorb the fabric, and the 20% of the color the resist it's absorb in the mate of the on the table. So on this piece. So the every the colors and blocks are repeated on the same cloth with some colors. So then they change the they change the arterias if there is so many colors on this fabric. So when the Swapnaban was here, so she says, I like this texture. So you just try with the dyeing, and we see how it looks. So we try. We also they have also using their Ajrakh motif and printing also, and we also print this block, the art piece blocks also on the same acharya. So when we dye it in indigo, so it's become it's the texture is it's amazing. We have seen the blocks which we have in the use for the art pieces. Some are with the Ajrakh ones. So it's a unique piece we have seen in front of us.
I'm just going to back up just to show our audience. You see this this long table that he's working on. Underneath it are textiles that are placed there just as padding. It's like a heavier canvas to absorb the shock of the blocks. So that is what this is, and what they've just explained is from all of the stamping with resists and other materials, that under padding, the shadia, takes on all these marks, but they're really invisible. So what they did then is they immersed it in the indigo dye bath to bring out those marks, and that's, you know, one of the concepts and themes driving Mobile Palace is this idea of making the invisible hand of the makers visible. So this is one that's been really powerful to speak to audiences of this. And you're right, it really brings out the texture too, the texture and the layers of meaning and making that are required for this. And just if you're wondering what that photo is in the lower right, it's mounted on these steel pipes, which, you know, make reference to and interrogate the contrast between the handmade and the industrial made, and what we value and how we understand them. So thank you so much. I'm going to just ask you each a question to wrap up. And that is, how do you see the future of the textile arts in Kachchh? What are the challenges and what are the hopes? So we'll start with Salmamad, please.
फीचर देखा जाए तो जैसे हमारी जनरेशन है, तो हमारे फादर्स भी यही काम करते थे, मगर उस टाइम में काम बहुत कम था। और अभी के हिसाब से देखें तो हमारे फादर्स जब यंग थे तो उसको 30 इयर्स हो गया है। 30 इयर्स में बहुत वर्क कम था, तब वर्कआउट ही होता था, सब जॉब होता था। और अभी के हिसाब से देखें 30 इयर्स, आफ्टर 30 इयर्स तो हम यंग हैं अभी। तो हम अभी उस लेवल पे हैं कि हम लोग खुद का प्रोडक्ट बनाते हैं और सेल भी करते हैं। तो मार्केट डिमांड जो है, मार्केट वैल्यू जो है, और अजरक की जो आईडी है वो बहुत फैल रही है। और हर जगह पे अजरक का नाम भी सुनने को मिलता है, प्रोडक्ट भी मिलता है और बायर्स भी मिलते हैं। तो फ्यूचर के हिसाब से देखेंगे तो आगे और अजरक बढ़ेगा, अजरक का नाम भी होगा। और अजरक के जो पुराने कारीगर भी थे, जो 30-30 साल से अजरक का काम छोड़ चुके थे, वो रिटर्न आके अजरक का काम ज्वाइन करके वर्क कर रहे हैं।
So Salim was saying that the future of Ajrak seems bright because when his father was doing the printing in Ajrak, so at that time there was not such a big market. They were working for the local community or the pastoral communities, and they were only the market for the block printers, Ajrak block printers. So now the market is grows, and the production was at that time they was doing for the only job work. Some people they are doing fabric and they have to just print and give it to them. Now they have the printers or the more becomes more entrepreneurs, and they are now the self-sustain on the market, and the Ajrak also in the identity is also it's now famous. So every artist, every artisan in Ajrakpur and Dhamarka has a lot of work in this field, in this craft. And the name of Ajrak also, so many people love the craft and they love the culture of Ajrak. So the future of the Ajrak seems very bright because the market also increasing with the different color combinations, different fabrics they are accepting with the modern outfit and the different kind of collaborations also there. So the future seems bright in this sector. And the one more thing that I personally, I can say that I feel that in this Ajrak craft, the generation also accepting this craft very passionately, because the young generation also doing the same craft that Ajrak block printings what his father was doing. They have not left the craft. So this is more unique, and the young people also they are learning the design thinking in the so the Kala Raksha was here they're doing, and now Somaya Kala Vidyalaya also the catering for the artisans platform to learn new things than the designs about the design and market. So this helps a lot to the artisan community in every craft in the sector of Kachchh, in the craft sector of Kachchh.
Well, that's very exciting to see, and it's certainly what I've watched over the past decade. And it seems like a big part of it is the ability of the makers now to be entrepreneurs and designers and to be in direct contact with consumers so that they can directly understand, changes in, like you're saying, new colorways that are fashionable. So is the major consuming market now, is it a local audience in India, or is it for export, or is it both?
Export जो market बढ़ी थी, तो local market में कि export हो पा रहा है?
मार्केट जो बढ़ रहा है तो एक्सपोर्ट भी हो रहा है, मगर हमारे यहाँ कारीगर ऐसे हैं कि जो खुद से एक्सपोर्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं। तो कोई एनजीओ है, कोई डिजाइनर्स है, कोई कंपनी है, तो वो सपोर्ट करके एक्सपोर्ट भी बहुत सारा प्रोडक्ट जा रहा है। जैसे फैब्रिक है, साड़ी से दुपट्टा, स्टोल्स जो हैं, तो वो कंट्री के हिसाब से एक्सपोर्ट भी हो रहा है। और लोकल तो चल ही रहा है, जैसे इंडियन में कॉटन फैब्रिक चल रहा है।
The market is both the local and international also. The local, the few people or few artisans itself doing the export. Most of the artisans does not do the export. The processes are long and there's so many paperwork need to do. So the most of the artisans doing for the local people, like in the Gujarat and out of Gujarat, like so many designers and some companies are there. They work for them. They also export and themselves by the developing the garment or some another products to the export market.
Well, that does sound like I guess the seeds for a healthy future, having both the internal and the external markets. I do want to leave some time for questions at the end. Please do put any questions that you might have in the Q&A box. So I do have a question there, and let's see. Can Salemamad please tell us what is the main difference between producing his own work and collaborating with a contemporary visual artist? What were the main difference and maybe challenges?
Challenges for regular art piece to artist difference.
रेगुलर जो हमारा वर्क है वो तो जैसे प्रोडक्ट चालू हो गया, स्टार्ट हो गया प्रिंटिंग, तो प्रिंटिंग, डिजाइन, कलर कॉम्बिनेशन फिक्स रूटीन के हिसाब से प्रिंट होता है, डाई होता है। और ये जो आर्टिस्ट का काम था, तो 1 बाय 1 पीस जो है उसका डिजाइन चेंज होता है, कलर्स कॉम्बिनेशन चेंज होता है, लेआउट्स चेंज होता है। लेआउट में भी स्केल, साइज, प्रोपोर्शन, वो सब देख के करना पड़ता है। तो उसमें टाइमिंग के हिसाब से हमारा जो रेगुलर फैब्रिक है उसकी जगह पे उसका प्रोडक्शन 20% ही होता है।
The regular work they are doing, it's just fix. They have the fixed color combination or that kind of quantity and repetition works. So that's more a fixed routine in the regular production. And where in art pieces, every pieces are unique. It's different from each other. So there is no repetition. So there is more focus and dedicated to, like we can say that you have to open your eyes and the hands and your minds and on the fabric. It's all on the piece. It's not, you can't do that the routine steps. It's difficult to manage everything on, and they have to also make the like layout, also propositions of the blocks, color combination have to decide priorly. So that is difficult too. Then the regular one is art piece, because it's also like that's a bulk thing if you say like the routine one, and this is the art piece which is unique, is every piece is a unique. So it's more interesting as to for the artisan or printer.
I love that expression. You have to open your mind and open your eyes. I guess you can't just, repeat a design. It's really that really was a wonderful expression. So thank you. And we have a question, and you should feel free to be honest. Would you do it again? Would you work with a contemporary visual artist?
इस टाइप का काम जो है वो करना चाहता हूं मैं, क्योंकि इसके अंदर जो है एक डिजाइन आर्टिस्ट का जो माइंड है मेरे पास, वो भी खुलता है और उसको भी मुझे सीखने मिलता है। और आर्टिस्ट के साथ जो काम करके एक नाम जो मिलता है, एक खुशी जो मिलती है, वो कुछ अलग ही है।
So he's willing to do this kind of artwork with artists. So he's saying that he love to do that because they have a skills of print, and they have to interpret or express that like we can say emotion or the skill on the fabric, on art piece, and not a fabric, we can say art piece. So it's more interesting because the regular work it's not so much like we can say it's not so much interesting, because this is a unique thing. This never done before, and this is new learning with artists, with the collaborations with artists, and the new thinking and new thoughts come to the learning while the printing in process, while making the art pieces. So he's willing to do that. It's a new thing to do. Yeah.
That's great that it turned out to be an opportunity for him to grow as well. I've had a couple questions now, people asking if there's any feeling of conflict in leaving, you know, traditional designs to do different kinds of designs. But my understanding is that Salmamad already himself creates his own designs. So it's not as though he was only doing historic Ajrakh and then went to working with Swapna. Can you tell me if that is correct? He was already doing his own contemporary designs?
Contemporary design जो regular कहीं होता है અને આજમ traditional design हुई traditional design पाछड़ी में contemporary design में कहीं होता है इनमें की तकलीफ की पांचों की आके तकलीफ थी कि
अजरक की जो प्रॉपर ट्रेडिशनल डिजाइन है जो सिमेट्रिकल होती है तो वो जो है प्रिंट करना है तो थोड़ा हार्ड होता है और मार्केट के हिसाब से जो लोकल डिजाइन्स हैं जैसे ब्लॉक प्रिंट्स हैं या अजरक में से इंस्पायर होके कुछ एलिमेंट्स बने हुए हैं तो वो थोड़ा इजी होता है और मार्केट में सेल के लिए कुछ नया भी बनता है तो चल भी रही है और वर्क के लिए इजी है.
So he's saying that there is the contemporary designs which also developed from the traditional motifs. They have taken some traditional motifs with contemporary motif and they have merged it to the new designs. So this also goes with market flow. So there is any conflict with the designs because the traditional designs are the legacy of the Ajrakh block printers who are doing any Ajrakh block printer is doing. So that's all the we can say they all are the right people who are doing or they carry forward their the print skills and the Ajrakh traditions. So they are every printers is doing with their own imaginations. So they're also changing the Ajrakh block print. There is also they have not changed the Ajrakh motif. They have just add that motif with another contemporary designs. So they also become a new blocks or new designs for the market or for the artist.
Thank you. Yeah, that was my understanding that there's been a few decades already of merging and changing and adapting for new consumers, new colorways, merging the designs, adding some contemporary. So this is not as though it was this stark break between the two. I have one more question, unless I see others coming in, but I think this is it. And this will be a difficult one because part of the problem is the problem of the English language and how the taxonomies it has for classifying different people. So the question is, does Salemamad consider himself an artist, a designer, or something else? And maybe the terms in Kachchh are not the same, so but we'll see.
I'm artist, artisan, designer, beauty kind category. I'm artist, artisan, designer.
No, not you read. Artist design. मैं आर्टिस्ट डिजाइनर हूँ तो ये जो अजरक की कला है वो हमारी पारंपरिक है तो 500 years old जो कला है वो हमारी वर्षागत है तो अजरक का आर्टिस्ट हूँ मैं और डिजाइनर की डिग्री की है तो आर्टिस्ट डिजाइनर हूँ और हमारे ब्लॉक प्रिंटर के अंदर कई ऐसे होते हैं जो रूटीन के हिसाब से ही काम करते हैं रिपीट ऑर्डर बाय ऑर्डर कुछ नया नहीं कर सकते हैं कुछ डिजाइन कुछ चेंजेस तो वो नहीं कर सकते तो वो सबके अंदर नहीं होती है तो वो जो है एक समझ जो है एक कला जो है एक माइंड जो है वो मेरे पास है.
So he's saying he's an artist designer. So he's also learned the designing. So he says he has a skill to take forward the tradition of Ajrakh. And also he's happy to carry forward with the next generation of him. And he says he's artist designers where so many peoples are not, they are doing the regular routine work printing, just regular work. So he says he's not that kind of a person or that kind of a printer. So he says he's a artist designer. So he want to do something new, different work for the Ajrakh craft and for himself also.
Wonderful, thank you. I think that's very clear. So an artist designer, I think that's a wonderful expression, and helps us to see too the different kinds of work that people are doing, and how he places himself in that.